So Star Trek Voyager, where did the show kind of not hit its mark? This video is all about the missed opportunities in Star Trek Voyager to actually do something progressive and new. The one thing I found about Voyager was it was like TNG Light, which isn't a problem. I love Voyager, I love the characters. But there are so many missed opportunities, and I'm going to talk about a few of them today. I hope you stick around, like, comment, and subscribe, and tell me what you thought of Star Trek Voyager and how you thought it could have been better. So in Australia, I started watching Star Trek Voyager in 1995. I was super excited, just as excited as I was for Deep Space Nine. But Deep Space Nine didn't speak to me when I was a kid. So when I watched Star Trek Voyager, I'm like, this is like TNG, but just with a girl captain. And as a gay man, a girl captain is like the best thing you can ask for. Strong women get us going. I don't know why, it's a bit weird. And the first thing that I thought was really great about the pilot was you had the Maquis, this rebel group who've been fighting the Cardassians. They weren't loyal to Starfleet, and they were a strong, rough bunch of people. And this is my first missed opportunity. Why the hell did the Maquis just become part of the crew straight away? So in the first episode, we are promised a sort of a tension and a build. It feels like we're promised, and maybe I'm just missing on something. And then Chakotay becomes first officer, and there's a little bit of tension between B'Elanna and Captain Janeway when Chakotay wants her to become the engineer. And really, there's like they play on the tension, but they very much it dissipates so quickly. And then in the later seasons, they come back and they just like, oh, they've got a mind probe. They're activating the Maquis. The only good thing to come out of the Maquis plot was Seska, and even she disappears after season 3. And it was just a missed opportunity to add some challenge to that first season, particularly with Chakotay and Janeway. You could have had some real tension there. So in the first episode, we are promised a sort of a tension and a build. It feels like we're promised, and maybe I'm just missing on something. And then Chakotay becomes first officer, and there's a little bit of tension between B'Elanna and Captain Janeway when Chakotay wants her to become the engineer.
If you look at it that way, none of my people will ever have seniority.
They're not your people. You're treating the Maquis on this ship like they're still your crew.
And really, there's like they play on the tension, but they very much it dissipates so quickly. And then in the later seasons, they come back and they just like, oh, they've got a mind probe. They're activating the Maquis. The only good thing to come out of the Maquis plot was Seska, and even she disappears after season 3. And it was just a missed opportunity to add some challenge to that first season, particularly with Chakotay and Janeway. You could have had some real tension there. So the Year of Hell storyline, there was a 2-part episode. It told this story of a year where just everything went wrong for Voyager.
Voyager can no longer sustain its crew.
Why wasn't that actually something that went wrong in Voyager? Like, the one thing that they always had was an unlimited amount of shuttlecrafts, an unlimited amount of torpedoes. Like, they just never seemed to struggle. It was essentially TNG. Like, they always seemed to find some way to do these things, but you never saw it. So you could have had, like I've got in my thumbnail for this video, it could have had a worn down crew fighting to get back to where they need to be. They're running low on rations, they're running low on morale. And you could have had an entire series built around just the fight to get home. And what we got is TNG Light, where they just happen to survive everything with a lot of shuttlecraft and a lot of torpedoes. And I don't think it took away, as I said, I love Voyager. This video is about what I think was wrong with Voyager. There's a lot of bright. Like, I think the characters were really good and really well played. I think the only hiccup they had in terms of character was 7 of 9 falling for Chakotay in the last season. Why? It's an important thing to to a show to add some sort of gravitas. I get that Deep Space Nine was doing the dark stuff. Deep Space Nine was doing the in-depth stories with the in-depth characters, and they were looking at different topics really strongly. Voyager just felt like they didn't want to push that boundary anymore. They just wanted to play a little bit safe and just make it like TNG. And that's why I think longevity-wise, DS9 is going to hold up a lot better. Its serialized format works a lot better. Voyager dabbled in that serialized format, but only in terms of the Borg. So the Borg, arguably the TNG era's biggest villain, most recognizable villain, and the villain that works the best in all the series. They used it in TNG, and to be honest, it was a bit overused in TNG. They had the best of both worlds, and then they just kept bringing them back for some reason. And sometimes, like with Hugh, the story worked really well. Other times, it looked horrible. Just the way it was played out. Then they did First Contact, and you had the Borg Queen, and you're like, that's amazing. And to be honest, when Voyager went to the Delta Quadrant, you know that the Borg were going to be a presence in the show. I don't know whether that was a part of the active choice, but the Borg were going to be a presence. And very much did we get the Borg, and then suddenly, especially with the introduction of Seven of Nine, a Borg character on the ship, which was one of the most interesting characters, it really took away from the Borg because the Borg were constantly hunting Seven of Nine. And I feel like the show became very Seven of Nine centric, and you can see why Kate Mulgrew had a bit of an issue with that. No reason to treat people like crap, but she apparently treated Jerry Ryan like crap. And the Borg Queen, the actress Susanna Thompson and Alice Krige, who came in on the last episode, they played the Borg Queen really, really well. Obviously, Alice Krige had before. Suzanne Thompson just has an elegance about her. And they just, for some reason, thought, oh, our ratings are getting lower. Borg episode. I think there's probably about 5 or 6 two-part episodes, of which are just Borg episodes. And as much as that is okay, to have those things, if you're not bringing anything new, because most of the time when we saw the Borg before, there was something new brought to them, a new side to them. With Voyager, it was just, they became kind of like the Klingon. They just sort of came in, shot people, they were gone, the Voyager won. And I think the Borg was where they died. And surprisingly enough, and I'll talk about this when I get to Star Trek Enterprise, Star Trek Enterprise had one of the best Borg episodes since First Contact. The problem was it didn't fit into their own canon. Well, it kind of did, but they stretched that one. So obviously, Star Trek Voyager had a lot of little flaws in it. It had some brilliant, like as I said, Janeway and Seven and Tom and Harry and B'Elanna. Those characters worked really, really well. They got rid of Jennifer Lien because, to be honest, her character didn't work for a long time. And when she came back in Fury, it was explosive. The overall issues with Voyager, and these are just a couple of issues I have. I overall think the show is magnificent. And it's an easy watch, and it's a comfortable watch. But I think that's part of my problem. Star Trek Voyager is a comfortable watch. There's nothing to really challenge you with Star Trek Voyager. I think they felt like, we have a woman captain, we don't need to do anything. And Deep Space Nine was pushing out plots with about war crimes and about espionage and all of these dark matter. And Voyager was, oh, Janeway and Paris turned into lizards and had sex on our planet. That is the worst episode. It will always be the worst episode. And also, surely they could have turned those babies into human babies, but that would have been too difficult, I suppose. So, what did you think about Star Trek Voyager? What did you think was its main issues? What do you think it's lasted so long? I know that Voyager is really popular in the gay and LGBTQIA community, and I think that's because of the woman captain, the strong female characters. That's the one thing it wrote really well, and I think that was because Jerry Taylor was one of the producers. What did you feel about it? Make sure to leave some sort of comments. I'd love to discuss this because I loved Voyager when I was younger, but as I've gotten older, it doesn't connect as much because it feels like it's literally my go-to-sleep Star Trek.